Hello, my name is Hope from the platform of eSeniors.org. eSeniors is a non-for-profit organization that provides virtual companion for seniors from age 60 and above. I want to specially welcome you all to today's book reading section. We are reading a book from Ben Oji titled The Golden Crown. We've done several chapters. We are now in chapter 4, and we're going to start off from where we stopped from the previous book reading section. Listen as I read. 3 weeks later, Johnny went back to his uncle's shop to collect his account opening form with the initials deposit to open the account. Mr. Okoli, as usual, received him warmly and said, "My brother, you have turned me to a banker overnight." As he talked, he bent backward on his seat and brought 4 account opening forms and gave them to Johnny with excitement. The forms were creased with some grey stains. Johnny collected them and thanked him for his efforts. As he explained them, as he examined them, he saw 2,000 naira in the first form, which was completed in illegible handwriting. His uncle explained that each form contained the money to open its initial deposit. He went through the rest, one after the other, and discovered that it was only one form that contained 5,000 naira. The others had just 2,000 naira each. The notes were cropped and smelt of grease and dampness. He was disillusioned. He had not explained to his uncle that the minimum amount to open a savings account in his bank was 50,000 naira. That meant that all the money his uncle had received for the 4 forms put together would not be enough to open one savings account. It was then that Johnny's dejected spirit informed his uncle that the least amount to open an account in his bank was 50,000 naira. Mr. Okoli showed no sign of surprise as he responded, "Go and open the account first. When you send the deposit slip and withdrawal booklet to them, they will start to operate the account. Before the end of the year, the balance in some of them will be more than 50,000 naira you require. That is how to meet targets." Mr. Okoli thought he had done a great favor to his nephew, but when Johnny informed him that he was expected to bring 100 million naira in deposit within 3 months, he exclaimed, "Did you say 100 million naira?" He said with his mouth wide open. "Yes, 100 million naira in deposits and 50 million naira in loans," Johnny explained. Mr. Okoli seemed to have thought for a while before he began to snap his fingers. As he did that, he pondered over what his nephew had just said. Johnny felt that his uncle did not believe him and began to tell him about his colleagues' targets, which were much higher than his. His uncle listened patiently as he narrated the story. What did they give you to bring such money with?" Mr. Okoli queried. Johnny chuckled as he responded, "We were given marketing cars, brand new Honda Civic cars with drivers to take us to any place we want to go for marketing. All we do is to sit on the back seat." Johnny added the last statement to make his uncle realize that His status in life had changed from the small boy he used to know in the village to a Joffa driven banker. He miscalculated because his uncle was not thinking alone. That line for he showed no sign that he was impressed by what he had said. At last, he said to Johnny, "Yes, they give you cars and what else? We have beautiful offices, computers and telephones. Everyone has a computer to himself. That is all we need," Johnny said and began to juggle. Mr. Okoli frowned and said, "No, your employer forgot to add something important. I think they should give you people guns to make it easy for you to achieve this target." Johnny was taken aback by his uncle's remark. Was he insane? What have guns got to do with deposit mobilization? He wondered. "Uncle, what are you talking about? How can you be going about with guns to ask people to do business with a bank?" "Listen, my younger brother, mobilizing 100 million naira in 3 months cannot be achieved by merely asking people to do business with your bank. How many people will you approach to mobilize this amount of money? Mind you, we are not talking of 100,000 naira. It is 100 million naira," Mr. Okoli returned. Johnny was anxious to understand what his uncle meant. He said, "Uncle, I understand what you are saying, but what you have not explained is why we need the guns. That is what I want to know." Mr. Okoli responded, "Look, my brother, to raise such money from this market, many traders will have to sell off their shops and go back to their villages to stay. It is as simple as that. The way snack here is that nobody will do that willingly. That is how the issue of guns comes in. Imagine you enter a shop in the market with a gun. You will not need to talk much. Once the shop owner sees it, he will do whatever you ask him to do. That is the only way I think that your management will make you achieve this target." Mr. Okoli responded the way he did because he thought that Johnny wanted to get 100 million naira deposit in their small market. Johnny flew up as he asked, "Uncle, do you mean that we should become armed robbers?" "My younger brother, it is your management that gave you those outrageous targets that should answer that question. How many of their children are given such targets or even marketing at all? They want to use other people's children to make money while theirs are preserved like eggs in their exotic homes. One day, God will judge every man by his actions." Johnny was disappointed by his uncle's utterances. For 3 weeks, his uncle could not get a single customer for him. Rather, he had convinced with his illiterate friends who could not afford the minimum amount to open ordinary savings accounts and wasted his funds. To mock him, he was now advising him to start marketing with a gun. Whatever that meant, Johnny did not find it humorous. He was quiet for a while before he suddenly sprang up like a cat and bidding his uncle goodbye. He stormed out of the shop. Mr. Okoli called his attention to the account opening forms which he left behind. Johnny, without mincing words, told him that they were of no use to him. Other efforts Johnny made did not yield much result. Many other people he had marketed only promised that they would do big business with him, but none was forthcoming, and Johnny's anxiety kept mounting. In their department Tuesday weekly meeting, he was consistently reprimanded for poor performance. His relationship with Pat was becoming estranged as Pat saw him as one that was not adding value to his department. More than 2 months had passed, remaining only a few days to the end of the quarter. Johnny had not brought any reasonable business and deposits or loans. The implication of not meeting target was termination of his appointment. Day and night he thought of what fate would befall him for such a failure. He was growing lean by the day. His trousers had become loose on his waist. He had to perforate new holes on his belt to reduce the diameter for it to hold his trouser firmly on his tiny waist. For if he did not meet his target, in a matter of days, he would be asked to go. He could not stop thinking of that. Each time he thought of it, his blood pressure would rise. He continued to be restless and decided to travel home to weekend to rest. Standing in front of their house, he sighted a group of women approaching their compound almost in a commotion. By their uniform, he recognized them as members of Okpi Igwe, his mother's dance group. Not wanting to encounter them, he quickly withdrew to his room and shut the door. He heard their footsteps as they roamed into their compound, raising their voices in a quarrelsome manner as they all talked at the same time. His father went to receive them. "Sweet mothers, welcome to our small home. Anytime I see you in this mood, I salivate because I know that delicacies are on the way," Chief Ebo said, pointing towards the direction of some wooden chairs arranged under the big umbrella tree. With that seemed like a ready-made answer, a woman responded to Chief Ebo's comments. "Our good husband, we have come to greet our rich and handsome banker." Another woman added, "Our husband, you can see we have grown in number and you can no longer take good care of us. That is why we need a wealthier man." Everyone, including George, who had joined her husband to welcome their guests, was amused. Chief Ebo was a wise man, well respected for witty talks. They knew that and were eager to hear him out. In a soothing voice, he said, "My sweet mothers, I have heard what you said. You know, husband and wife don't settle the type of quarrel in the open. When we go inside, I am sure we will settle it. It will be settled." He smiled and went back to the house, leaving his visitors to settle down. George knocked gently and Johnny quietly opened the door for her to do whatever she had come for and leave before her friend's attention would be drawn. "My father," she called, "you are the one all these people are looking for. They came to greet you." She moved closer to Johnny, who had sat up on the bed and pulled his head. "My father, let us go," she said. It was believed that Johnny had a divine connection with his maternal grandfather. Johnny was born in the evening of the day the man died. Apart from that coincidence, those who knew the old man said that Johnny was his replica in physical appearance. For this reason, it was believed that Johnny was the reincarnation of the man whom the only daughter, George, was very fond of. Johnny stood up gently and followed his mother outside. Immediately the visitors sighted him, they roared in admiration. Their reaction excited George, and she fondly placed her right hand across Johnny's shoulder and began to twist her trunk stylishly as they walked towards the cheering guests. The women greeted and embraced him one after the other. Chief Abel whispered to Osondu, who tapped the sister Ijoma, and they hurried into the house. Shortly afterward, they returned with some drinks and garden eggs with which were presented to the girls. Chief Abel said, "Sweet mothers, Kola has come." In accordance with the tradition, they requested him to bless the Kola for them as the head of the family, and he obliged. He began, "Oh God, our Creator, we are full of gratitude that you have given us life to see today and to gather in your presence. We thank you for your Son, whom you have uplifted in his new job. We pray for your protection and guidance. Father, prosper him in wealth, health, and knowledge. We all also committing our friends who have come to rejoice with us into your merciful hands. Father, bless them and their families, prosper them, enrich them, and grant whatsoever good they desire. Father, please sanctify the kola before you and make it nourish our body, and so when we take it, in Jesus' name we prayed. Amen." Everybody responded. Johnny excused himself and went back to his room. After service on Sunday, Johnny decided to visit his old auntie before traveling back. When he arrived, he met her husband, Mazi Okoli Ali, reclining on his agenda, a wooden easy chair for elders' realization. Johnny sat talking with the old man, whose cheek and gave into his toothless mouth, causing his tongue to stick out when he talked. The man was probably handsome when he was young, but he looked like a scarecrow now. His body had shrunk to a mere mass of bones. The old clothes he tied around his waist barely covered his buttocks. On hearing Johnny's voice, his auntie limped out of her smoke-stained kitchen with a small metal tray containing melon seeds. Looking up to Johnny's face, she exclaimed, "It is my son that I can no longer recognize. What have you eaten that made you grown so tall? I hope you brought my share along." Johnny stood up, greeted respectfully, and smiled politely. Mazio Koli Ali's daughter-in-law, Ezinwani, and her friends were in the compound gossiping. A woman's child was restless, crying and disrupting their conversation. Another woman in annoyance grabbed the boy's hand and pulled him away from the mother. The boy began to yell loudly. The woman dropped him on the ground and made to walk away, but the aggrieved boy cupped his hand, collected sand from the ground, and threw it upward the woman, but the sand landed in his body. The woman turned back and spanked him gently on the buttocks. The boy flung back as he swung his little hand in the woman's direction. The woman spanked him again and still awaited for his retaliation. Everybody, including the boy's mother, was amused by the drama. Then it became clear to the boy that he has lost the fight, and he fell on the ground and began to roll. The woman said mockingly to the boy, "Akmako men are odorant. Imagine this little one that cannot stand on his feet already fighting with sand." The boy's mother interjected, "My sister, their stubbornness starts from their tummy. This one almost kicked me to death when he was in the womb." Another woman interjected, "What I don't understand is why they are that stubborn and proud." They don't believe that other people are important. Yet, when you get close to them, you will not see anything to justify such pride. Mazi Okoli Ali gave a curious story curve to alert the discussants that he was overhearing them. Everyone yelled, Mazi, stop coughing. We know you are listening to us, but we are saying the truth. Mazi Ali replied, the truth indeed. If Akpaku men are bad, how come every woman wants to marry them? You women are pretenders. Your mouth will be saying one thing and your mind will be saying another. I know you are thanking God for bringing you to our village. Mazi, are you not seeing us? Do we look like women whose husbands are taken good care of? The boy's mother asked. Mazi Ali responded, it is not late, my daughter. What is not late, Mazi? Ezinwai asked. To go back to her father's house. Mazi Ali replied nonchalantly. Alright, we shall all go, but do not come begging us to come back, the boy's mother said again. I will never come. I will never beg you. Don't you know how desperate other women are to come to our village? So if you foolishly throw away your opportunity, there are several women anxiously waiting to grab it. Mazi, times have changed. Nowadays, women are no longer as naive as we were many years ago when we fell for the sweet tongues of your men. Women are wiser now. So do not think you can still sweet talk them into marriage, said the boy's mother. My daughter, you are getting it wrong. It is now that women are appreciating the handsome and muscular men of our village better. If I tell you how many love advances I get every time from young girls, you will keep your mouth shut. The women rolled in laughter. Mazi, please accept the advances. Let us see whether those young girls are blind, the third woman said. Everyone laughed as she added, don't mind Mazi Ali. Who will ever marry somebody as old as this? Who is old? How do you think I am? Don't use my wife's age to judge me. She is much older than I am. The only thing that keeps me from playing around with my colleagues is my aching nails, which I know will get better soon. If not for that, I tell you, no man can beat me in wrestling match. Look, women, you know that I am not joking. It is only firm and a young maiden will follow me home. He snapped his raised fingers to demonstrate what he meant. Contracting marriage was a very simple thing for him to do. When he did that, he cast a mocking glance at his wife and winked at Johnny's. The women burst out laughing, and the third woman, more of excitement than asked, Mazi, so you are still thinking of a new bride? Mazi Ali replied eagerly, why not? Am I too young to have a new bride? Please don't ask me a childish question. Alright, you tell me, is there any of my age mates who does not have 2 or more wives? So why will my own be different? The dowdy wife of Mazi Ali had been silent and indifferent in the conversation all the while, but when her husband threw the banger at her, she was aroused. My sisters, she cut in, you are all complaining about Akpaku men when you have not seen anything. Throwing sand at people and boasting at ladies are child's play. Wait until you live with the ones without teeth in their mouths. Everyone roared in laughter. Mazi Ali made a laugh out. Mazi Ali made to laugh, but was seized by cough, and he coughed mirthlessly. Accumulated tears in his eyes slid down his cheek. Johnny was equally amused, but he wanted to leave, so he bade them goodbye and hurried home. There was several tension in the office as Johnny's team prepared for the quarterly performance review meeting that day. The team did not meet their targets in the previous quarterly performance review. In the present one, they performed poorly again. The policy of the bank was that anybody that scored below average twice would be sacked. Pat was restless. He narrowly survived the previous meeting. The present one was surely to be his last. The air conditioner in the office were on, chilling the office, yet he was sweating. For the second time that morning, he took analgesics. He had been having a ceaseless headache for some days due to anxiety and was now looking pale and weak. The meeting was to start by 10 a.m. in the conference room, but 9 a.m. all the branch managers and the marketing staff were seated, awaiting the arrival of the managing director and his team of executive directors. The practice was that once the managing director of the bank walked into the meeting venue, no other staff would be allowed in. The staff meetings that performed well were moving around, exchanging greetings with their colleagues. Others who did not meet their target were hiding in the corners and praying silently. Those who felt that they had a chance had prepared their defenses. Most times, such defenses never worked. The best they had ever achieved was a final warning, which merely gave the beneficiaries another chance to 3 months to improve his performance. Pat has received final warning in the previous quarterly performance review. For him, there was no more excuse. At 11:15 a.m., the managing director led the other directors into the meeting room. Tension continued to mount as people whispered to one another. There was noticeable anxiety on the faces of some branches managers and marketers who did not meet their targets. Johnny was watching a manager who had a sachet of paracetamol as he split the full cover and dropped 2 tablets in his mouth. Instantly, he took up a sip of water, closed his eyes, and swallowed loudly. He looked stressed out and agitated. He was in his mid-40s, though nearly all the hairs on his head had turned grey. Another person sitting next to Johnny was a branch manager. He was so engrossed in his thoughts that he was obviously of the happening around him. He was so engrossed in his thoughts that he was oblivious of the happenings around him. Since he came in, he had kept a straight face and continually murmured to himself. The microphone was given to the MD to commence the meeting in quarterly performance review. Prayer was considered a waste of valuable time as MD went straight to the business of the day. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. He began. 3 months ago, you will recollect that we gathered here to review our performances for that quarter. During the review session, we all noticed that our bank was losing grounds, especially in deposit mobilization and review generation. A totally unacceptable situation to the stakeholders. As a way forward, and also in the meeting assignments were given. As a way forward, and also in the meetings, assignments were given to individuals and groups. I feel terrible to note that despite all that management has done, I feel terrible to note that despite all that management has done by way of enhancement of staff welfare, our performance this quarter is nothing to be proud of.